Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lightworkers Secrets to Success. I'm here with Amanda, Adam, and Pamela, and we're going to share with you some information tonight about how powerful the power of intention is, because we titled this, once you believe it, you'll see it. And that's how it works. And I've been teaching this and studying this stuff for many, many years because I had that big aha moment years ago where I realized the inner world is controlling the outer. But you have to remind yourself all the time about how it works. So I'm going to give you an example of something that happened to me yesterday. We had this tremendous blizzard up here in the Northeast, 2 feet of snow. And I looked out my door and my car isn't in a garage, it's parked outside. And the snow was up to the windows and the drifts were everywhere and it looked pretty bad. And I really don't like to shovel. So I let it go for one day. But yesterday, I decided, well, I think I'll go get dressed. It was about noontime. And as I was getting dressed, I remembered how when you believe it, you can see it. So I said to myself, I believe in miracles. I believe that there is a way to solve this little problem effortlessly. Somebody's going to show up, surely, a teenager or something's going to happen to get me out of here because there was no way I was going to shovel all the snow. Well, I got dressed and I went out the door. And just as I was going out the door with the shovel in my hand, I heard the sound of a snowblower. And the man who lives right beside me, this nice young man, zooms up on his snowblower and he said, "Don't worry about that. I'll take care of it." And I was so happy because I didn't even have to do one shovel full of snow. I'd already cleared my steps the day before, but I looked out about 15 minutes later, it was all done. It was like a nice little miracle. And it reminded me that, moment to moment, as you need things to show up in your life, they will show up, but you have to get clear on what it is you want. They call it scientific prayer, where you know that you need a specific thing, but because you know that it's all consciousness, and we live in a mental universe, not a physical one, when you believe it, you don't believe it and worry about it, you believe it and let it go. That's when the miracle happens, because your higher self knows exactly how to line everything up and give you the synchronicities. Now, it was interesting that I waited until noon yesterday to get dressed. If I had been out there at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning shoveling, this guy wouldn't have been there with his snowblower. It was perfect timing. Perfect. And I realized, we're living in the 5th dimension now because the vibration is rising. And the more we remember that we're not living in the 3D world like we used to, even though we still have these bodies, but we're really, spiritual beings living in the 5th dimension and higher. That's when you can have synchronicities all day long. You'll get off a phone call and then just the right person connects with you after that call's over. It doesn't interfere. It just flows. That's when you're living in flow. Because another miracle I had today, as you guys know this, I have been praying for someone to help me with my course because I like to bounce my ideas off of humans rather than just sit down by myself and come up with material. Well, I have this young woman who's my Facebook coach right now, but I hired her because she's helping me get another online course out there. I already have one on Udemy, but that went out about 5 years ago. So I'm working on a new one. And she came up with the most brilliant ideas today. It was shocking to me that she honed right in on how to put this thing together and incorporate my book into the course. And it all collaborates. It all fits beautifully together. And I was just so happy after she figured that out for me. And so we're meeting again on Thursday to dig even deeper into it. But, you guys know, I've been trying to find somebody that, and it's all timing. A lot of times it can take, I know we're all frustrated with the way the world's working right now, but God's in charge of everything. There is such a thing as divine timing. If you need something right now, like a solution, like, shoveling your car out, it will show up when you need it. But if you're working on projects, sometimes it takes more time for the right things to come together, the people, the circumstances. After I left my flying job, I sought for 2 years something to do, 2 solid years of applying to jobs, meditating on it, trying to figure out what I wanted to do because I didn't like doing nothing. And then bingo, at just the right time, the right thing showed up, but it took 2 years. And it couldn't have been any sooner because that was when this thing that I started doing was activated. So your higher self knows how to find you what you want when you need it. Sometimes it takes a little time but if you need it immediately, you'll get it. That's the beauty of it. It's all about plugging into the divine higher self and letting it run the show. And the more we do that as we live in the 5th dimension, the more harmonious everything gets. So that's my story. Does anyone else have a story?
Yeah. So I can definitely go on to that. I know so many people either listened to, watched, or read the book, The Secret.
Mm-hmm.
And, so many people that I talked to when it first came out said, this doesn't work. And I mean, what do you mean it doesn't work? It works perfectly. It works perfectly every single time. And they're like, what do you mean? And I said, well, did you follow exactly what they said in the book to do? And they're like, well, yeah. And I go, well, what did they say to do? And, they kind of looked at me a little puzzled. And I go, well, you do know that there's 3 steps to manifestation. And they're like, well, no. And I went, well, then you didn't listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
You may have listened to it, but you didn't listen to it and apply it. And, I always broke it down to an acronym, and I always called it ABR, and that's how I remembered it. And the first step is to ask and be very crystal clear on what you want.
Right.
So most people aren't crystal clear. They say, oh, I would like $1 million. Well, liking $1 million and having $1 million is 2 different things.
Exactly.
So what people don't realize is that words are spells. That's why they call it a spelling contest, or spell that word for me, because you are casting a spell when you say a word, period, because it's a vibration that's going out to the universe. So the very first step in The Secret is to ask and be crystal clear with what you're asking. The next step is in ABR, is probably the most important step. And this is where most people fail. It's believe. So the title is, you're not seeing it because you don't believe it. So many people don't believe it. And here is a perfect example and a good analogy. If you went to Amazon and you ordered a widget, when you place the order and you go through and you fill out everything and you got all the shipping stuff in there and you hit submit and it says, okay, congratulations, it's paid for, the money's coming out of your bank account. And it says your order will be there in a couple days. You believe that that's coming to you. You don't go back in Amazon an hour later and say, and do the order again because it didn't show up yet. Or you don't go in the next day and say, well, my order's not here, I got to go do it again. No, you know that FedEx or UPS or whoever, someone's going to drop that widget off at your front door when they said it's going to be there. And when it's not there because something happened, a snowstorm happened and they couldn't get there, You don't go back to Amazon again and reorder it again and say, well, it didn't get here when it was supposed to, so I got to reorder it again. No, you say, I know it's coming. I believe it's coming. And I'm going to wait a few more days. If it's not here in those days, I'm going to contact Amazon support and saying, hey, I ordered this widget. Where is it? Because you believe it's coming. You know that that thing's coming. How many people say, as the example, I want $1 million and I want it by this time, and it doesn't come at that time? And you're like, see, told you it doesn't work. Or they go back in a week later and say, hey, I'm just checking in, universe, I still want this $1 million. It's still coming on this time. That's you saying to the universe that you don't believe what you originally asked for. So that's where most people fail in the believe part, is just right there. That's the simplest and easiest way to put it. And the last part is just get ready to receive it. So like the Amazon thing is, hey, oh, UPS is here. Finally, good. My widget's here. I'm going to go and meet him because I need it right away. Right. You're just ready to receive it. That's all you need to do. You order $1 million, be ready to receive it. Now you might have to do some work to get $1 million because it's an energy exchange. And there might be some things that you have to do more so than just, sit back and watch Netflix, for a year and expect $1 million to show up on your door. It might not be that way. There might be some inspired action that you have to take in order to get that, but it's still the same process and everything still works the same. So I always break it down, ABR. I hope that's simple and easy to remember. But just remember, the believing part is the most important part out of everything. You don't believe it's going to happen, it will not happen. There are so many examples I could give of things that I manifested, from Dyson vacuum cleaners to houses to cars to you name it. I've manifested it because I believed it more so. Even when people were calling me crazy, there's no way that's ever going to happen. I just know how to do it, and I know how to do it over and over and over again. And it's just the best feeling in the world when you get it. Now, there's times, I'll be honest, there's times when I freaking I don't even believe it sometimes. I ask for it and I don't believe it, and I have to check myself. And I'm not saying this is an easy process. This is a very, very tough process, but I've broken it down to make it that simple. I hope that helps.
That's a big help. And you are a master manifester. You've proven it over and over again as long as I've known you. But yeah, I used to compare it. If you don't really believe and you're not clear, it's like putting one foot on the gas and one foot on the brakes at the same time, and you get nowhere. But that was a very good description of how to make it happen. I agree. You got to really believe it. Yeah.
And I also think, like, the part about, being ready to perceive, and sometimes you have to do something, and sometimes doing something means letting go of stuff. Right? Making space for things. And if you're asking for something, then what do you have that's hindering you because you don't have space for whatever you're asking for? I can remember, like, when I wanted to buy a house. I didn't have credit to buy a house. I had no credit whatsoever. Didn't have bad credit. I had no credit. And I manifested the house. And one of the things that we really looked at is like, okay, what's going to go in my living room? What's going to go in the kitchen? What's going to go? We started really, envisioning our things in that home, and how we'd have visiting us and coming over, and then, even our mortgage broker was like amazed that I actually got approved when I had no credit at all. I said, I'm not sure how you did that. But sometimes we have to look at, like, when we sold that home and wanted to downsize, we downsized, but we still had to make room in for our RV to come in because we still had so much stuff. And we were paying for storage for stuff because there wasn't a way we were going to get 3 rooms of, furniture into an RV. It wasn't going to happen. And, we were trying to sell everything, and that wasn't happening. And so being willing to just let go and give away, and doing that step. And then some other, just, experiencing. We rented an RV from someone else and lived in the RV, saying, okay, well, we say we want to do this. We've experimented for 2 years. We did all the research, but let's actually live in an RV. And that was a whole different perspective, because then you get a different shift in your mindset of what that looks like. Because we can always envision something, and we can believe we're going to have it, but sometimes you need to experience, and letting go of things that you're holding on to can be a huge piece of making that manifestation happen. So you can believe it, but if you're not willing to let go of things you have right now, you could also be holding yourself back because you don't believe it enough to make room for that space, right? Because to be able to believe it and then to receive it, you have to make space for that. So I think when Adam says you have to do something, sometimes that can be part of that doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important point, Pamela, about letting go of the stuff that doesn't serve you anymore. Like your house, you wanted to downsize and you had to get rid of stuff. I've done that a few times myself. And it's kind of painful when you're letting go of stuff that you've kind of like gotten used to having, but then you don't miss it after a while. And everything changes and it makes room for the new way of living. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Well, not only that, but I mean, if you also think about what stuff is, everything is energy. If you put it in a microscope, it's just vibrating in a certain pace. So if the more stuff you have, it means the more energy you need to hold on to that, to maintain it, to do whatever it is. By releasing things and letting things go, you open this void. And if you, what we said at the very beginning, if you are very clear and intentional with what you want to fill that void, it happens like that. The reason sometimes things don't manifest instantly is because there's no void there for it to instantly manifest. Right. So, and I mean, that's not an easy process.
That's a very good point because, I've been married 3 times. Well, you're not going to meet somebody else if you're still stuck in a bad relationship, right?
Exactly.
You gotta let go. You gotta let go of stuff that doesn't serve you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary because people always think nothing's ever going to come along to replace this bad stuff that I'm at least living with or whatever it is. It could be a job they hate, and they're afraid to let go because it's scary. But the amazing thing is the magic can happen then when you do it. You take that leap.
Well, you guys, it's funny because everything you said is tying into what I was going to say, because I have manifested a lot of things, and but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about what I'm manifesting right now. So a little while ago, I was displaced, and I had to move out of my apartment really quick. And so my family and I went to a hotel, and I was like, oh, I kept applying for all these homes and these houses, and I kept getting denied, and it was getting really frustrating. And I kept thinking, God, these are the houses I'm manifesting. This should be working. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And then my daughter had a medical emergency, and she needed me. And had I been in any of those houses, I would not have had the time to go and be with her. So I was actually very fortunate to go and stay with her for it's like a couple months. But she needed me there. And so I'm so thankful that none of those houses came through for me. And then I got into the house that I am in now. And I said, I only want to bring into the house what I'm absolutely have to have. For the first couple months, I didn't even have furniture because I didn't even know if I wanted furniture in here. I didn't know what kind of furniture. I just didn't know. And so, but I did manifest some brand new couches that I liked, that can also be used for my energy healing access bars. So they're dual purposes, right? I like things that are practical and things I can use. So now I have this garage full of stuff. I mean, it's just stuff. And I keep thinking, what do I need all this stuff for? So when I was staying at the hotel, I had all my stuff in this U-Haul. And one day, the U-Haul was gone. And I was thinking, I remember driving thinking, okay, if I never see any of my stuff ever again, my life is still going to continue. It was almost like a weight lifted off of me, right? So, but then I got my stuff back. Anyway, so, but it's all in the garage. So I'm looking and I keep saying, I got to get in my garage. Because I'm manifesting something so big and so ginormous that it needs a lot of my energy. And I think these things are taking from my energy and I feel very stagnant. So I've already got another load in the van ready to go to the Value Village. People give me stuff all the time and I'm very sentimental. I love collecting stuff. And if somebody gives me something, I'm like, oh, I can't get rid of that because so-and-so gave it to me. Well, I opened this box and I looked in it and it was all these little things that I could have said every single reason, every single thing to think, talk myself into keeping them. And I go, no, I said, you've given me enough joy. It's time for you to go. Right. So it's a box like little knickknacks. When I had my old house I lived in for 10 years, I had this beautiful china cabinet and I had all my like Princess House crystal displayed in there. I had all these little knickknacks, just everything. Crystal, those little teacups with the little saucers, just collectible things. And I'm like, they're just things. And really, it brought me joy then, but I don't like to dust. So it's not bringing me joy now. And I think, oh, if I get all this stuff, it's more for me to clean. And I'm like, no, I just want simple. I want simple. So I am manifesting this huge, epic retreat center in Costa Rica. And I need to have my stuff gone here. So I kind of came to the realization like, okay, if I get rid of all this stuff, what is the universe going to provide for me? What is going to show up? That's just been waiting for me to like release all this other energy that's no longer serving me in my life. So I am so excited. So you guys can hold me accountable. I started this weekend, just little by little, because it is a lot and I'm doing it by myself. So little by little, getting rid of stuff. And so hopefully by the end of February, everything will be what I need. It will be in place. And whatever is going to show up will show up at my doorstep.
Nice. Because it really is true. If you let go of the unnecessary stuff, and Joe Dispenza said that recently in an interview. He said, the funny thing is about the people that come to my seminars, they want to live simpler rather than, loading themselves up with all kinds of fancy cars and stuff. That's not so much their interest anymore. They just want simple because they realize it gives them the time and the space to work on themselves too in the spiritual dimension and help other people. Yeah. It's all about priorities. Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys liked this video. And if you did, please make sure you like and subscribe to our channel, share it with anyone that you might think would really like this. And we're usually back on every Monday right around this time. So please join us live, comment in our comments. We really appreciate it. And if you would like to be interviewed on our channel, we love interviewing people too. So please just reach out, let us know. All of our contact details are in our channel description. And we hope to see everyone next Monday. Bye.